It's the evening of November the 5th, 1940, and a group of British ships are racing across the Atlantic to resupply Britain. In the middle of the convoy is a single armed merchant cruiser, the HMS Jervis Bay. A call comes over the bridge.
Unidentified ship spotted.
Hard to port.
Captain Edward Fagan immediately orders the Jervis Bay to turn towards the ship and out of the center of the convoy. He orders a challenge signal to be flashed across the waves.
Send the code.
But the mystery vessel sends back the exact same challenge message. The British know that no friendly ship would answer in that way. It must be the Germans.
Sound action stations.
Alarms ring out across the Jervis Bay as men rush to their posts, manning guns and preparing the ship for battle. Back on the bridge, Fagan's blood runs cold as he realizes what he's looking at.
It's a pocket battleship.
It's KMS Admiral Scheer, one of Germany's most formidable warships. She's bristling with guns and bears enough firepower to devastate the convoy. HMS Jervis Bay is no match for a pocket battleship. A direct engagement will only end one way. But if he can just keep the Scheer from getting close to the convoy, then maybe he can buy time for them to escape.
Get the convoy away. Send up the flares and lay down the smoke.
Aye, sir.
The evening room is illuminated by a burning red glow as Jervis Bay launches her signal flares high into the sky. The merchant ships break out of their columns and begin turning to starboard. The captains strain the engines and rudders to the limits as they work hard to avoid collision with one another. Aboard Jervis Bay, sailors throw smoke floats into the water and huge clouds of grey smoke billow into the air. In seconds, the convoy disappears behind the haze. Fagan knows what he has to do.
Turn to starboard. Make full speed and close the distance.
HMS Jervis Bay charges directly towards the enemy, drawing all attention to herself. 10 nautical miles away, on the Scheer, Kapitan Zerzay Theodor Kranker and his ship power forward to close the distance with the seemingly defenseless convoy when a message comes in.
Kapitän, eines der Handelsschiffe greift an. Es sieht aus wie ein Dampfliner.
Haben die überhaupt Waffen?
Wenn ja, dann sind sie nicht so groß wie unsere, Herr Kapitän.
Hart Backbord.
Kranker orders a turn to port, bringing the ship's broadside to bear. On HMS Jervis Bay, Captain Fagan can see his enemy lining up the first salvo. Confident the merchant ships are now hidden from German guns, Fagan gives the order.
Open fire!
At the forward gun, able seaman Sam Patience rams a shell into the breach, but the enemy's still not in range of the Jervis Bay's puny 6-inch guns. Sam watches on the horizon, and the thunder of Admiral Scheer's 11-inch guns tears across the sky. It takes more than 20 seconds for the shells to come whistling down to sea, splashing home in front of their bow and kicking up huge columns of water. The German gunners are finding their target, and the Scheer immediately fires off a second salvo with an enormous roar. Huge columns of spray are kicked up as rounds fall close behind.
They've got us bracketed!
Feuer!
The massive guns fire their third salvo. And this time, it's a direct hit. The bridge is torn apart by a mighty explosion. Fagan reaches down to pick himself off the floor, but the pain in his shoulder is excruciating. It's at this point he realizes his arm is missing. But despite losing a limb, he's determined to fight on, and he descends painfully down to the deck, clinging to another sailor for support. Shells continue to land every few seconds, and soon the entire superstructure begins to crumble under the repeated explosions. An incoming round even blasts away the white ensign flying from the main mast. The crew look up as shards of wood and glowing embers cascade down to the deck, and the tattered white flag flutters down. But the British crew stay calm. They've drilled for this situation, and now the training takes over. Firefighting teams battle the raging blaze with hoses. Surviving gunners stay at their posts. A sailor dashes past and climbs up the shattered mast with the help of a crewmate and nails up a fresh white ensign. There's a rousing cheer from the surviving British crewmen.
They're firing again!
Fagan fights through the searing pain as he considers his next move.
Hold your positions! They're lining up another salvo!
He sees that the Shear has begun firing its secondary 6-inch guns at the fleeing merchant ships. Jervis Bay's continued resistance is the only thing stopping the German ship from unleashing its main guns on the convoy. Fagan pulls himself to his feet. With the bridge destroyed, he's got to get to the rear control compartment. From there, he can steer the ship and issue orders. His body's close to failing, but he moves as fast as he can, supported by a crewmate. Meanwhile, Sam and his team are firing off their weapon as rapidly as they can. He rams another round home and waits for the blast. The shell arcs away, and Sam watches as it plunges harmlessly into the water. The Shear remains untouched.
We might as well be throwing spuds.
They may not be inflicting any damage, but they know that every round keeps Shear from closing in, buying precious time for the convoy to escape. Sam readies himself to send another round downrange, but suddenly, he's blown off his feet by an enormous, shuddering blast. He feels a sharp stabbing pain and slams down onto the deck. Then his world goes black. On the Shear, Captain Kranke watches the fires burn across Jervis Bay. It's still blocking his most direct route to the merchant ships, and despite the damage, a single 6-inch gun keeps firing in his direction. The British shells do no harm, but the risk of a lucky hit plays on his mind, so he can't just sail past. Neither does he have the time to bypass her.
Wenn dieses Schiff sich nicht ergibt, muss es vernichtet werden.
Sam comes round slowly, waking up to the chaos of battle. Through fogged eyes, he watches as his captain slowly makes his way along the deck to the rear control compartment. If Fagan gets there, he'll be able to steer the ship and issue orders. Maybe he can get them out of this. Sam watches and shouts encouragement.
Come on, sir!
Fagan finally approaches his destination as a German shell flies in. The room is blasted apart. Sam braces himself against the force of the blast and looks on in horror as Fagan disappears into a whirl of flames and shrapnel. Sam clings to the rail as the smoke clears and shapes start to emerge from the gloom. Peering through the swirling battle, he finally sees the body of his captain lying motionless. The next salvo comes in seconds, striking home and tearing into the ship. Flames burst up from below decks, inflicting the final crippling blow. Jervis Bay shudders, lurches, and then begins to list as water rushes into the hull.
Abandon ship!
All around, sailors put on their lifebelts and begin evacuating. Dazed and injured, Sam suddenly finds himself alone. All the lifeboats have been deployed. His only option is to jump. He stares down into the icy water. Like many others on board, he can't swim.
Gotta get out of here.
But then he spots one last lifebuoy sitting in its case. Bracing through the pain, he limps across the deck and hurls himself at the buoy. He pulls at the case, straining every muscle, but the buoy just won't budge. Sam can feel the ship shifting beneath him. Every second brings him closer to an icy grave. He musters all his strength and pulls again. And this time, the buoy comes free. Sam jumps. He crashes down into the water, breaking through the surface and feeling the air knocked out from his lungs. He fights with all his strength, kicking and pulling himself until he reaches the surface, gasping and coughing. He takes a quick look at the sinking Jervis Bay, and he's horrified to see there are still men on board who can't swim and won't risk jumping in. He's no idea where to go. Perhaps he can find one of the lifeboats. Already shivering, he begins paddling away into the night. On the bridge of the Shear, Captain Kranke can't help but admire the sacrifice of the enemy crew.
Gott weiß, diese Männer haben sich ihr Land verdient gemacht.
But now he can start the pursuit. Peering into the dark, he spots SS Rangitiki, a large transport ship steaming away in the distance. He sets course and begins the hunt.
Hart Steuerbord. Feuer auf den dicksten Brocken.
Rangitiki twists and turns, changing course to try and avoid the German warship. But the Sheer launches a salvo and scores a direct hit on the ship's stern. Rangitiki is badly hit and trailing columns of black smoke. Kranka's confident that he's bagged his second kill of the evening, but then watches in frustration as the massive ship disappears into a smokescreen. Night falls, and a few miles away, Sam struggles in the freezing water. His injuries are agonizing, and the cold stabs him like 1,000 tiny needles. He doesn't know how much longer he can keep this up. But then, he spots a small shape in the dark, and hears familiar voices drifting across the waves. There are men in a lifeboat, looking for survivors. He paddles himself closer, fighting through the waves. Using the last of his energy, he drags himself up into the boat. Sam collapses exhausted among the feet of his fellow sailors, and the men huddle together for a long, cold night. They watch as HMS Jervis Bay finally slips beneath the waves. The white ensign that they had proudly erected is the last thing to disappear. All that's left behind is a field of debris, and the men who didn't make it out alive. In the distance, they can see the flashes and hear the echoing booms as KMS Admiral Scheer chases down another merchant ship. Flashes of light blaze on the horizon as the German battleship fires off another salvo. Explosions tear through the sky as a merchantman is hit and starts going down. But on the bridge of the Scheer, Captain Kranka grows impatient. He spent so long fighting HMS Jervis Bay that now he's hunting in the pitch black. Finding the merchant ships is taking far too long, and he's running low on ammunition.
Stellt den Angriff ein. Wir jagen hier Gespenster.
KMS Admiral Scheer slips away into the vastness of the ocean.
Never thought it would be so cold.
Silence descends upon the North Atlantic. The men in the lifeboat know that the chance of rescue is low. The merchant ships have strict orders to continue to Britain. But hours later, the survivors spot lights approaching. It looks like rescue has arrived.
Help us!
The men shout and wave their arms.
We are here!
As a big boat comes alongside, they hear strains of a foreign language.
What is it there?
They glance around nervously. Are they about to become prisoners? But the ship isn't German. It's the Swedish freighter Stora Holm.
Kapten, överlevande!
The ship's crew haul the freezing men up onto the deck. Altogether, Stora Holm and her men save 68 of Jervis Bay's 256-man crew and deliver them safely to Canada. The British ship's heroic sacrifice allowed for almost all of the merchant ships to escape from the KMS Admiral Scheer. For his bravery, Captain Fagan was posthumously awarded the Victoria Cross.
The Germans didn't all have it their own way.
जी दोस्तों, आपका इस वीडियो के बारे में क्या ख्याल है? कमेंट सेक्शन में ज़रूर बताइएगा। मिलते हैं नेक्स्ट वीडियो में।